Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. I'm really recording this for the third time because the first time my internet, my electricity even cut off, and the second time I didn't turn the audio on because for some reason I'm an idiot. But anyway, beyond that, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today we're going to be discussing Barbenheimer, but before I get into that, I want to discuss quickly about the writers' strikes happening right now and the actors' strikes happening right now in in the USA, should I say. So if you don't know what's happening with these, writers are striking as regards their residuals and a number of other issues, AI included in that, and the actors have kind of joined in with that later on for the same reasons. Primarily because bosses such as Bob Iger of Disney, the Disney CEO, have been saying untoward things, basically implying that the actors and writers should be happy with what they get, especially considering the period we're in, which that being that film has been and slightly kind of is, but maybe not so much now, on the decline. And this being whilst they go on retreat, this being whilst they gain the money that they do, and basically the idea amongst these CEOs, amongst the film industry elite, is that they will wait the actors out. Now, with bigger actors, that's fine. With small, well, not fine, but you know what I mean, they can survive this, so to speak. They can manage for a time. Smaller actors, of course, will be hit worse by this. They will lose their houses, they will lose their livelihoods, they will lose perhaps, you know, their relationships, etc., etc. This is not just a war of attrition. This is a war of inhumanity, essentially, on unscrupulous levels. Now, of course, a lot of people will say, well, actors are actors. And I will say to you, this is the same for any career. If you're not being treated right, you should do something about it. And this also potentially could undermine creativity itself, especially as regards AI and stuff like that. So this is an important fight, not just for acting and writing, but the future of creativity itself. And not to put too fine a point on it, that is exceedingly important. Now, about Barbie, and again, I am going to be very succinct because I've discussed these movies for about 2 hours already because of the issues that I've had. So, Barbie, I think it's a really good movie. I think it's got a lot of fun, culturally significant moments, culturally impactful moments. I think the movie will be referenced or otherwise memed on for quite some time to come, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's always bad that there's memes that come out with films. I think sometimes it's how we live with these films going forward after them. I also think it's a very poignant movie. I think it falls flat in some places. I think specifically that character isn't hugely focused on in this, but I think that's kind of because Barbie isn't a character, so to speak, until sort of the plot, right? Barbie is an idea, which is kind of touched on in the movie. But the movie does deal with a lot of issues of femininity and feminism, and also deals with kind of fragile masculinity and a lot of stuff. Actually, this movie really does try and go and hit a lot of societal, social issues, and I am very I was very pleased with it. But I also think, you know, visually this movie looked stunning. I think there was no scene where I was uninterested. My eyes were like flitting around, etc. I think the music, the score for this film was really well done, especially because the music was interactive with the story. Sometimes the music was telling the story at points, which I really enjoyed. I will say that the actual narration was jarring at times. Helen Mirren did nothing wrong as the narrator, but I think it was slightly jarring at times. And yeah, so this was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it as a movie. I think it does fall in some places. I don't think it's like any kind of magnum opus, but I do think Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie and the cast, the rest, did a really good job of this. You could tell that there was a clear intention behind everything they were doing. They cared about what they were doing, and obviously that is of most importance when making a film. I also want to say that I think this is once again proving the idea that the MCUism of film is not happening the way people like to think it is, and that movies can be different than that. And but that doesn't inherently mean that Marvel is bad because of it, because these movies are still being made, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, I don't think Marvel has taken over quite so succinctly as people like to think it has. And also, I don't think that Marvel can be blamed for the film industry being on its back right now. And that's all I'll say as regards that. Just a little side point. Oppenheimer, on the other hand, Oppenheimer is a very serious movie. There's a few comedic moments, but not played for comedic. It's just kind of like because of a certain where things happen or where communication is had that it's comedic. But there are some really strong moments in this, some really great acting from not only Cillian Murphy but Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr. There's also like this cast is probably like you thought Barbie was star-studded. Oppenheimer has some a real range of actors as well, though, because you have Rami Malek, you have Jack Quaid, you have Josh Peck, you have gosh, I'm trying to think of those off the top of my head. Florence Pugh. You have a lot of moving parts of this movie and a lot of characters and a lot of like. Yes, they don't all have huge screen time, but they're all relevant to the piece in some way or another. And yeah, it was a fun watch. One of my favorite scenes was actually Emily Blunt's scene near the end of the movie during like a little hearing that they were having, and the way she acted in that was really, really strong, and that stood out to me as one of my favorite parts of the movie. But yeah, I've got to be honest. I think these are both really good movies. I think they're both timely in that they're really questioning humanity at a crucial point in society. I don't know. I don't want to say that. That sounds so highbrow and so kind of like, what's the word? Self-righteous and also kind of self-important. I don't want it to sound like that, but I do think these are questions that are very much at the forefront. Like this is cultural conscious stuff. This is this is part of the zeitgeist, so to speak. This is stuff that we're on the cusp of. These are the questions we're having right now. You know, not necessarily in the ways that they are specifically in the movie, but I think discussions of femininity and discussions of what is feminine and what is acceptable and what is the role of a woman in society and what is the role of a man as such, and all that stuff. And then also questions as regards Oppenheimer of how far is too far. Do we do the thing even though we shouldn't do the thing? What happens if someone gets a bomb that they shouldn't? And all those types of questions. So I think these both are very speculative movies in their own regard, and they're actually they fulfill. They both made me think, and I think that's what a movie should do. You should come out of a movie and think and discuss and be open to ideas other than your own. And I think that was very much what these two movies did. But yeah, so they're both doing very well. They're both seen as very successful, not only critically, but monetarily. They're doing well at the box office. And yeah, this has been a great weekend for film. Now, of course, I will be leaving it there. I don't want to go into too much detail because I have talked about these movies a lot, and I don't know what I've said in this versus what I said in the second and first cuts. So I'm going to leave it there. I want to leave it relatively succinct. I hope that's enough for today. I'm just so glad that these movies were both great and they've both been received really well. And yeah, if anyone was doubtful about cinema's return, here it is. But keep in mind that we must, at the same time, fight for creativity, because without that, films like this don't get made. Not to put too fine a point in it, not to be too pretentious about it, but it's true. And yeah, let's see how that all unfolds. Thank you guys for listening / watching as usual, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.